everyone. This week we are going to look at lessons 53 through 56. So let's get started. This week you're going to need the lessons manual, the student worksheets, the math card games manual and the game cards, the short multiplication table, which is Appendix 1, and the Casio SL450S calculator or another basic calculator. This week, we are going to continue to work with multiplication, learn about check numbers, and we will also have a review lesson. So let's get started by turning to lesson 53. If your lesson manual was printed in 2015 or before, there is a correction listed for this lesson. You're going to want to check our corrections page and make those changes prior to teaching this lesson. In the warm-up section, you're going to review the multiples of 9. If your child struggles with these, you're going to want to spend some time working on their multiplication facts of 9, strengthening up those math facts, play some math card games, etc. Once you finish the warm-up, give your child worksheet 37. There are a lot of division problems and remainders on these charts. If your child has difficulty with solving that many, then you can have them use the abacus, or you can work alongside them as necessary. These charts will lay a foundation for the concept of check numbers that your child is going to learn in this lesson and then also in lesson 54. If you would like more information about them, take a look at the explanation section to the right of those tables and read up on what check numbers are and how they work. Now, your child's answers on the chart need to be correct in order for the rest of the activities in the lesson to work. So you may want to check on their work prior to moving on. In the second paragraph under the tables, you're going to say this. In the first table, compare the remainders to the sum of the digits. You're going to find out that the sum of the digits is exactly the same number as the remainder, except for 9, which lists 0 as the remainder. This is an extremely important observation that is going to be used in check numbers. The second paragraph under the table says this. In the first table, compare the remainders to the sum of the digits. The answers are going to be the same except for 9, which lists 0 as the remainder. This is an extremely important observation that is going to be used in check numbers. The second from bottom paragraph in the last sentence says this. Give the child a few minutes to study this by herself before discussing her ideas. Let your child look at these tables for a couple minutes. Let your child see that pattern. Because this is a new concept for you, let's also look, I'm going to look at these charts with you as well. I want you to take a look at the number 11. We're going to take a look at the digit 11, 1 and 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2, which is the sum of the digits, which is also the remainder. Scoot down a little bit and take a look at 18. The sum of 18, 1 plus 8, is 9. 9, the remainder is 0. And just like we talked about before, 9 and 0 is going to, whenever time you see 9, you're going to have a remainder of 0. Let's take a look at the number 59. 59, if you add together 5 plus 9, is 14. Well, if you do 1 plus 4 from there, that equals 5. Well, what's our remainder? 5. That's going to come in handy a little bit later. Take a look at the number 73. 7 plus 3 equals 10. Well, that's a two-digit number, so we need to add those together. 1 plus 0 equals 1. Well, what's our remainder? 1. Very good. Now you're kind of getting it. The very last sentence of the first page also reiterates that when using a check number, you are going to think, it says, think of a 9 as a 0. That's extremely important through all of this. On the top of the second page, you're going to practice figuring out what the check number is for different numbers. Let me talk you through them and give you a couple shortcuts. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the number 29. The first thing we're going to want to do is add those digits. So 2 plus 9 equals 11. Well, we still have 2 digits, right? So we need to add those together. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now remember, here's the shortcut. Remember, when you see a 9, you can think of 0, right? Well, we have a 9 in the number 29. So we don't actually have to go through the 2 plus 9 and then 1 plus 1. We can just see that 9, cancel it out, and we're left with 2. So 2 plus 0 equals 2. Let's look at another one. Here we have 59. We see that 9, we think of 0, so we have 5 plus 0 equals 5. See how easy that is. The next one is 333. So we have 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9, and when we think of 9, we think of 0. Let's look at another one. 817. We know 8 plus 1 is 9, right? That's 0. So that just leaves us with 7. See how these shortcuts help us get to those numbers much quicker? Let's do another one. 35,875. We can add all of those digits together. 3 plus 5 plus 8 plus 7 plus 5, which gives us 28. But we have to add the 28 together. 2 plus 8 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. So our remainder in this particular problem is going to be 1. Now, after you go over these activities, give your child worksheet 37 and have your child calculate the check numbers. The game for this lesson is called Check Numbers Game, and there is not a blog for this game. But if you have any questions about it, feel free to call or email us for instructions. We'll be happy to help you. Now, I know this feels like a really strange lesson, and you may feel like it's a waste of time, and you're like, why are we even bothering doing this? However, this is the foundation for check numbers that will be taught in lesson 54. In that lesson, you're going to begin to see the value of check numbers. In addition to what is being taught in lesson 53, there are other excellent reasons for your child to learn check numbers, besides even just learning it just for the fact that it's in this particular book. This check numbers is a great skill to learn how to quickly check division problems, and it also provides groundwork for factoring. Plus, and I have found this for my kids, you can use check numbers to check their work on tests. And I'm talking big tests like the ACT or the SAT. So check numbers are an extremely valuable and helpful tool to teach your child. All right, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 54. The warm-up section will have your child do the top part of worksheet 38, which is a similar activity to the worksheet your child did for lesson 53. The last part of the warm-up will have your child work on their multiples of 3. If your child struggles with these, you're gonna need to play some of those math card games to strengthen up those multiplication math facts. Take a look at the section called Check Numbers. Let me read that first top paragraph to you. It says, those remainders that you have been working with can be used to check answers when adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. We call the remainder after dividing by 9 its check number. Take a look at the explanation section next to that paragraph. It says this, check numbers have several other names, with the most common being casting out nines. Other names include digital roots and check digits. So if you are curious about this, feel free to go online and do some research on it. Your first activity under check numbers is going to have you write the problem 2,702 plus 3,817 equals 6,519. You're going to write that on the board or on a sheet of paper. Then you're going to have your child calculate the check numbers for this number. They're not going to solve it. They're going to calculate the check numbers. So let me show you how that works. So here we have that problem, 2,702 plus 3,817 equals 6,519. First thing we're going to do is do our check numbers. So let's take a look at this one, 2,702. Well, we know 2 plus 7 equals 9. So our check number is going to be 2 on this number. The next one, 8 plus 1 equals 9. So that's a 0. We are not bothering with that one. So now we're left with 3 plus 7, which equals 10, or 1 plus 0. So our check number for that number is 1. The check number for 6,519, well, we're casting out that 9, right? 9 is 0. So we're going to add 6 plus 5 plus 1, which equals 12, but that's a double-digit number, so we still have to keep adding. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So our check number is 3. Now, we're going to see if our problem is correct. 2 plus 1, we're adding up our check numbers. Is 2 plus 1 equal 3? Yes, it is. So that means our problem is correct. Look at the bottom of that section called Finding Errors Using Check Numbers. Here you're going to write 2 different problems down, one with a correct answer and one with an incorrect answer. Be sure to have your child find the correct answer by using the check numbers, not by solving the problem. Take a look at the explanation section at the bottom of the page. When the check numbers do not match, there is an error. However, check number agreement does not guarantee a correct answer. Digits may be transposed or a 0 substituted for 9. It is similar with using a spell checker, which catches most but not all misspellings. That's an important rule to understand. Just because their check number is 100% correct doesn't always mean that the problem is exactly correct. Take a look at the top of the second page. Make sure you remind your child to make these problems easier by finding the 9s first and then considering them as 0s. Have your child complete worksheet 38. This worksheet will have your child practice using check numbers. If you would like more information about check numbers, we do have a blog and a video available on our website. I'm going to provide links in the description section underneath this video so you can locate them quickly. Look at the section called Prepare for Corners 3 Game. Here you're going to review addition facts that will prepare your child for the game of the day. The game of the day is Corners 3 Game, and this is a variation on the Corners game. But the pairs are being made by totaling a multiple of 3. So 2 cards mean together to make 3, 6, 9, 12, etc. For this lesson, your child will use check numbers to double check their score. But make sure everybody starts their score at 150 and then increase from there. All right, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 55. If you have a lesson manual printed in 2016 or before, there is a correction listed for this lesson. So you're going to want to make sure you make any changes to this lesson prior to starting. The warm-up section for this lesson will have your child solve problems using check numbers to check their answers. The instructions tell you to give your child the worksheet, the short multiplication table, and the calculator. However, you're not going to use the multiplication table and the calculator for these warm-up problems. They're going to be used later on in the lesson. Look at the multiples practice section. Now this is a really fun way to use the calculator to help review their multiplication math facts. You're going to want to have your child say those numbers out loud as they're working through the activity. So for example, when they're working on their multiples of 5, make sure they're saying 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. so that they're getting that into their brains a little bit better. This section is also going to have your child use the calculator to practice their multiples of 5, 6, 7, and 9. And again, as I said before, this activity will help review those multiples, but also give a foundation for finding factors. Take a look at the section called Detecting Multiples. Here your child is going to use the short multiplication table, and that's this table here, to find the patterns for each multiple. This is going to start a foundation for finding factors. And in this section, your child is going to discover that multiples of 5 end with either a 5 or a 0. Multiples of 10 will end with a 0. Multiples of 3 and 6 will have a check number of 0, 3, and 6. And multiples of 9 will have a check number of 0. You may want to have your child build a chart to remind them of these facts, as it's not only going to help them in this particular lesson, but also in the future, even into algebra, beginning algebra, when they are working on factoring. Take a look at the section called Sums of Multiples. Here, your child is going to learn that if a multiple of 3 is added to another multiple of 3, then the sum is also going to be a multiple of 3. And it lists the examples. 30 plus 45 equals 75. We know both 30 and 45 are multiples of 3, so that means 75 will also be a multiple of 3. Another example they list is 12 plus 15. We know that 12 and 15 are multiples of 3, so that we know that the sum of 27 will also be a multiple of 3. Then you're going to give your child the worksheet 39. Here your child is going to apply what they've learned in this lesson by filling out this chart. Before your child starts on the worksheet though, you may want to remind them what they have learned, maybe putting in a table or putting it on a chart on the whiteboard, or making them create a table on their own. Let me kind of show you what that might look like. So we know if a number is an even number, it's going to be a multiple of 2. If a number ends with a 0 or a 5, it's a multiple of 5. If a number ends with a 0, it is a multiple of 10. Now, when using check numbers, if the multiple, we know that the multiples of 3 have a check number of 0, 3, or 6. Multiples of 6 have a check number of 0, 3, and 6. And multiples of 9 have a check number of 0. The math card game suggested for this game is called multiplying 3 one-digit numbers. Now, there was an error in the manual I just found, so I let them know, so you may not have the correct version in your manual. It says that this game is listed as A55, but it is actually P36. All right, well, let's go ahead and turn to lesson 56. This is a review and games lesson. You're going to want to pick either one of the worksheets, either 40A or 40B, to give to your child. Don't give them both worksheets. The extra worksheet, though, can be used later if you want an extra quiz at another time, or if you find that your child struggled with this worksheet, you can then review the lessons that cover the material, have your child relearn that, review that, and then take the other worksheet as a quiz later on. When you give the verbal problems at the top of the first page, read each problem 2 times as needed. As I have done in the past, there are also lessons that you can go back and review for the problems that they might have missed on this worksheet. So let me show you what those are. So if your child missed problem 1, which was 1,000 times 10, you can review lesson 19. For problems 2 and 3, which is 7 times 8 and 63 divided by 9, you'll want to play a math card game to review those math facts. If your child missed problem 4, which was 760 plus 58, you can review lesson 6. Or if they struggled with their addition math facts, you can play addition math card games, depending on which struggle they have. Problem 5, if they missed problem 5, which is 27 divided by 9, you're going to want to review lesson 19 for the multiples of 9, or review lesson 35 if they struggled with division, the division concept. If your child struggled with problem 6, which is 10 times 4 plus 10 times 6, you can review lessons 40 and 41. For problems 7 through 10, which are the check number questions or chart, review lessons 53 and 54. If your child struggled with problem 11, which is the multi-digit addition problem with the check numbers, you can review lessons 53 and 54 if they struggle with the check numbers, or you can play math card games to help those addition math facts. Problems 12 through 15, if your child struggled with those, writing those numbers, you can review lessons 48, 49, and 50. For problem 16, which is the compare 1,000 and 1,000,000 question, you can review lessons 48, 49, and 50. If your child struggled with problem 17, which is the compare 10,000 and the 1,000 times 10, you can either review lesson 19 for the multiplying by 10 concept, or you can review lessons 48, 49, and 50 to review large numbers. For problem 18, which is the 8 times 8 and 7 times 9, you can review their multiplication math facts by playing a math card game. For problem 19, which is the 174 plus 278, review addition math facts. For problem 20, which is the 10,000 and the 5,375 plus 1,845, you can review addition math facts. However, if your child struggled with the multi-digit addition problem concept, you can play the math card game called column addition, which is listed as A64 in their math card game book. For the rounding table, you'll want to review lessons 44, 45, and 46. For problem 28, which is the 9 times 2 plus the 9 times 8 problem, you can review lessons 40 and 41, or you may want to review the order of operations. For problem 29, which is 36 minus b equals 32, you can play a math card, subtraction math card game. You may want to guide your child to use the part-whole circles to help them solve these types of problems. For problem 30, which is the C plus 1 times 9 equals 16, you can review lessons 40 and 41, or you can review the order of operations. For problem 31, which is the word problem, review lessons 45 and 46. You may also want to remind them to use the part whole circles to help them solve word problems. The math card game for this lesson is multiplying 3 one-digit numbers game. We do not have a blog for this game, but it is an easy game to play. If you have any questions about how to play it, feel free to call us or email us for help. We'll be happy to help you with that. Now, this is the last week of lessons before winter break. We are going to take 2 weeks off and then come back after the holidays. The next video will be released on January 3rd. You are definitely going to want to keep up those multiplication math facts even during this break. Your child has worked so hard to learn what they've learned so far. Don't let them lose those math facts. Even if it's just taking a few minutes each day playing a short math card game, that's going to go a long way in helping your child retain those math facts. If you have any questions or concerns about a lesson, or if your child is struggling with something, please give us a call or email us. We are here to help. Have a great few weeks off, and we will see you in the new year. Bye, everybody.